What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Double S NFL podcast. This is Sam,
And I'm Spencer.
and we welcome you to our AFC free agent
Recap.
free agency recap for the AFC. We're going to start off in the AFC South, the
With the
division with the least amount of movement.
and that first team will be the Houston Texans. Oh man, what a mess this team is. As everyone knows, they traded Deshaun Watson to the Browns for a good amount of draft capital, but I'm actually surprised they weren't able to get a player, but it is what it is. They're a rebuilding team. They really didn't sign.
Really do anything.
Yeah, they did absolutely nothing besides they didn't even re-sign many people. They let Justin Reed walk.
They let Tyrod Taylor walk to the Giants.
They let Jacob Martin walk. Yeah, so there's not much to say about this team. So I'm gonna give their free agency a D.
I'll give them a D too.
All right, moving on to the one.
We got the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, it's Colts. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, they have a lot of free agents unsigned. And the only two real moves of note they made is trading for Yannick Ngakoue and trading for Matt Ryan.
So, how to evaluate this offseason is, I think they kind of stayed the same at QB. You can probably
went from mid quarterback to slightly above average quarterback.
I think it was the opposite actually, but I'm a Wentz guy, but that's probably it. But I love the Yannick move. I think he'll be alongside Kwity Paye. I think he'll be great. I love Buckner still. They didn't lose much, but they barely added anything. The receivers are still weak. Question marks in the secondary. So
they traded one of their better corners to get Yannick Ngakoue.
I'm gonna give their offseason a C.
I'll give them a C plus, but C is fine.
All right.
Next up,
on to one of the most controversial off seasons.
Let's do the Titans first.
Okay.
The Titans, what they did is they did not a lot.
But they traded for Robert Woods.
They did trade for Robert Woods. I'm not sure how well trading a guy who's coming off a torn ACL is going to work out.
I don't think the thing with the Titans is they didn't really upgrade much from the rest of the AFC is. So I do not think they'll be a playoff.
It's probably be enough to win their division again.
They'll be close to the Colts, but the Titans didn't do much. They didn't lose much either. So I'm going to give this offseason a C plus for them.
All right, and now on to the most.
What do you give the Titans?
We got the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What grade do you give the Titans?
C.
All right. I'll start, and I just want to say one thing. Trent Baalke is the worst GM in football.
I think we already knew that.
Yeah, well, we've known that, but it's good to always bring that up again. It's good to get your young quarterback help, but not in this way. Explain more on that, Sam.
Yeah, I especially want to bring up this Christian Kirk contract. Yeah.
Yeah. What else needs to be said? 21 up to 21 million per year for a mid wide receiver too.
And they're paying him wide receiver 1 money.
Yeah, they're paying him like top 10 receiver money. And he's not even close to that.
Yeah.
The rest of their moves I didn't love either. Foye, I did like that move, but I don't know.
I like Brandon Sheriff, but I don't agree with franchise tagging Cam Robinson.
I hated the Brandon Sheriff move. Absolutely hated it, and here's why. Like, I would have wanted them to keep Andrew Norweller, draft a guard. Brandon Sheriff plays 8 games a year, and pay him $60 million a year is an absolute ton. So he'll help their O-line, but I am not a fan of the move.
Yeah. Other than that, they let GJ Shark walk, so it's
not very good.
They signed Evan Ingram. If you know me, you know my feelings of him. I don't really want to get into it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it either. But Jacksonville sucks. They're always going to suck, and I'm going to give their offseason a D.
Yeah, moving on to the AFC East. I want to start with the New England Patriots.
Oh, wow. So the Patriots were a 10-win team last season. And I think the main reason they were a 10-win team was uh, because of their schedule and like how they beat up on inferior opponents, and like with the AFC getting better as a whole, they got much worse. And I wouldn't be shocked if they finished last in the division next year, or at least close to it. So let's talk about their moves. Like, take the floor, Sam. On
Yes. So the Patriots re-signed Devin McCourty. They re-signed Trent Brown. They traded Shaq Mason. They cut Hightower. I think Hightower was a free agent actually, but they cut Kyle Van Noy. They let J.C. Jackson walk. They didn't even franchise tag him, which was a shock to me.
the Shaq Mason trade's a head scratcher.
They let Ted Karras walk. They brought in Jabril Peppers, which isn't terrible. If if his knee didn't completely come off last year.
It's still a pretty weak secondary. The corners don't really inspire me. The linebackers, the front seven is not very good. Let's talk offense for them. They still don't have a number one receiver. Like
I thought they would try to get, say, Allen Robinson.
Yeah, same. But
that clearly didn't happen.
So a team with some holes before free agency has a lot of holes now. Belichick, I'm going to give this free agency a D-.
Next, I want to go to the New York Jets.
I'm going to start since I'm a Jets fan, and I'm pumped. I'm pumped, man. Joe Douglas is doing a phenomenal job. While we might not be the best team this season, we're going to see massive improvements, and I'm a fan of almost every one of their signings. Let's talk secondary. They added DJ Reed, Jordan Whitehead, two big moves to make the secondary with the draft edition average, I'd say, which is huge considering how bad it was last year. And we added some two quality tight ends for Wilson and a Pro Bowl guard. What else can I ask for?
I agree. They got they did in previous off seasons, they made splash moves like the off season that probably should not be named.
Oh yeah, I don't want to talk about that off season. Yeah, like, but
they went more low key with their moves, and I like that.
I'm gonna give it an A-.
I'll give it a B+.
Okay, that's fair.
Next, I want to go to the Buffalo Bills, and I'm not a big fan of the Von Miller signing.
I'm not either, but it's not the end of the world.
6 years for a
120, like 20 a year. That's a shit ton for a guy who's coming off injuries and aging.
Other than that, they didn't really do that much.
Because they have a stacked roster already, I'm gonna give it a B-, but I don't really know.
Their only real move of note was bringing in Jamison Crowder.
OJ Howard, I like as a backup tight end.
Yeah, right. And last but not least, in the AFC East, Miami Dolphins.
So it's unfortunate because I'm a Jet fan, but the Dolphins won this offseason. And they did pretty easily, in my opinion. Well, I'm not a big Tua guy. Chris Greer did everything to support him he possibly could. Tyreek Hill, in my opinion, is the top 3 receiver in football, and to give up a late first for him is nothing at all. Teron Armstead is an A+ signing. Connor Williams signing, I like. Love the Cedric Wilson signing. This team is going to be good this year, and I'm scared. A+. What do you think?
I'm going to go A-.
A-. What would you have done differently?
I don't think I really would have done anything differently, but I'm just not a fan of giving A+.
All right, that's fair.
All right, next I want to move to the AFC North. Let's start out with the team that did the least in the Baltimore Ravens.
We Hoopin will not be happy about my grade, but we'll get to that soon. Do you want to take the floor, Sam, what they did, what they didn't?
I would like to. They didn't get a big time receiver, like they thought they might have done.
I think Bateman can be that guy, but we'll get to that another time.
Right. And all they really did was brought in Marcus Williams from the Saints. If you know, you know. I don't think that he wants to revisit that play.
Caught sideline Diggs. Are you kidding? All
Other
right.
than that, it was just re-signings. They re-signed Tony Jefferson. They brought in Michael Pierce. And other than that, they're just letting a bunch of players go, or they're waiting to figure out extensions.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it a B minus.
But a lot of their players that aren't re-signing, they're on the wrong side of 30.
Oh, what I will say is I loved the Michael Pierce signing. It's I think he's gonna have a huge year for them.
Next up, I want to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Spencer, you want to take the floor with this one?
Steelers had an offseason that was the definition of average. They brought in Mitch Trubisky, who's an upgrade over Big Ben last year, but he's not anything to write home about. He was below average for 4 years in Chicago. They added Miles Jack, which I think Miles Jack is one of the more overrated players in the league. Complete liability in coverage, but at the same time, James Daniels was an A+ signing. They needed help badly on the O-line, and they got it for a cheap price. I like bringing back Witherspoon. I like the Levi Wallace signing. Would have tried to re-sign Juju or Washington, but it's fine. Gonna give it a B.
I'll give it a C+. Now, this next team didn't the whole AFC North as a whole didn't do that much.
But the Bengals, in my opinion,
The Bengals didn't really have to do that much.
They didn't
except upgrade the offensive line, which they did.
The Bengals are one of the very few teams in the NFL I consider to have very few flaws. And the O-line was their biggest flaw, and they fixed that. Their biggest flaw on offense right now, the Bengals, is probably a wide receiver 4, and that's a really good thing.
Tight end.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I like Hayden Hurst, though, but he's not like a true number 1 kind of guy. What do you think about their offseason?
Mid. I'll give it a B-.
I'll give it a B+. All right, moving on to the Cleveland Browns, who were average last year. Baker Mayfield, he's on his way out of town. They didn't really do much in free agency itself, but you can talk about the trades were a different story.
Their free agency was mid. They did let Case Keenum go, and we're waiting to see what's going to happen with Baker Mayfield. However, on the trade front, they got 2 big names in Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. I think that'll help them big time this year.
Huge. If Watson plays, he'll be huge. We don't know if he'll play it or anything, but I think that'll be huge. So as a whole, when bringing these moves all together, I'm going to give it an A-. It would be an A or an A+ even, but I do not like cutting J.C. Treader at all. He's aging, but he's still a phenomenal player.
Well, they needed the cap space to sign Deshaun before his other extension that he got from the Texans kicked in.
Yeah, you're kind of right about that. Could have been a pay cut or something like that, or they could have maybe
restructured it.
If they take a center early in this, like if I were them, I'd take Tyler Linderbaum at. Oh no, he's not. They don't have a first round pick. No, I scratched that. Never mind.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah,
we know why.
Yep. All right, moving on to the AFC West.
Right. I want to start off with the Kansas City Chiefs.
So one of their moves, which I actually liked, let's start with the good. And one of the good moves I liked was bringing in Ronald Jones. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it's safe to say he's been a disappointment so far. He's not efficient. He doesn't have a lot of power. His vision is average. And I'm just not a big fan of his at this point. I think Ronald Jones can be a true number 1 back in their system.
Yeah. They did lose a lot of their depth.
They're very, very, very thin at some positions, and that concerns me.
But there is a draft for a reason. They do have 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, they do. And
albeit they're both very late.
But I think if you put a guy like Christian Watson or Dotson in that system, they could go for 1,400 yards through a year. I guarantee you.
Yeah. Overall, the Chiefs will still be good. I don't think they'll be as good.
I'd give this offseason a C-, but this team will still be solid.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Vegas.
Next up, the Denver Broncos.
Oh, go to Denver. All right. Another team that did most of the damage through trades, but there's one signing I'll talk about which I like. But what are your thoughts on it, Sam? First,
they did lose their top tight end, but overall, I don't think it was that bad considering they got Randy Gregory and they got the big piece, Russell Wilson.
And I think he'll be the solution to their year-long QB drought, at least for 5-7 years. DJ Jones was a great signing. He's a great run stopper, which the team desperately needed. Not much else besides the Gregory signing, but I'll give it an A-.
Did you say B-?
A-.
A-. I'll give it a B. B+ rather.
B+. All right, moving on to another big winner of the offseason. And we'll go to the Chargers here. Wow, man. Tom Telesco absolutely crushed it this offseason. Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, that's a nightmare for opposing O-lines. J.C. Jackson, a top 5 corner in the league for a good price. Man, Sebastian Joseph Day was huge. I even like the Gerald Everett signing. It's an A offseason for them.
I do think they overpaid Mike Williams a little bit.
A tad bit, but I think he was a big part of that offense, and then him and Herbert. Herbert and him had great chemistry, and I think losing him would make the offense decline quite a bit. So I'd give it an A-.
I'll give it an A.
And finally, we're going to the Las Vegas Raiders, who are in a very stacked division and will probably finish in 4th, but I still think they're a double-digit win team. That's crazy to say. Sam, what do you want to say about this team?
They made a lot of good moves. They upgraded in their secondary. They upgraded at their edge. They upgraded at receiver. All while re-signing their former best edge rusher in what's his name? Max Crosby.
Yeah, to a big deal, which I like.
And if you look at this, most of these are re-signings. But Zay Jones,
I would have kept him for cheap, but it's not the end of the world. Especially when you have Devontae Adams now, who can carry any load, really.
Honestly, it was a really good offseason.
What I will say is, and this is the main reason I think they'll finish last, coaching. I don't think McDaniels is terrible, but not letting Biscaccia back after the season he had last year is just plain disrespectful, in my opinion.
Yeah. Overall, this was a really good offseason.
So, my top 3 winners in the AFC over the offseason: Miami, New York Jets, and the Chargers. My top 3 losers: Jacksonville, Houston, and New England.
I have to agree with all those.
All right.
All right, and that will conclude this episode of the Double S NFL podcast. You will be back next week with the NFC side of the free agency. See you guys.